everybody, I'm Z Garcia. Today I'm going to be taking a look at Universal Monsters Unchained. This is a game from Trick or Treat Studios, and it is a reissuing, a reworking, if you would, of a game named Nightfall that came out some time ago. In that game, you had werewolves and vampires and kind of monstrous things in this perpetually night world in which they were fighting. The different factions were at each other's throats. In this one, you've got the Universal Monsters, and the theme has basically changed what you are doing. I guess you're an apprentice is part of the idea here. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at this game. I'm going to be comparing it a little bit to that game because I like that game, and it's one I've played many years. I owned for a long time. So I'll tell you what's in here, what it looks like, how it works on the table. We'll be right back, and I'll tell you if I think this one is one you should pursue. In the game, the players are going to be taking turns going through these phases here, spar, chain, learn, and draw, until the fatigue cards have run out. As soon as they run out, the game is over, and whoever has the fewest of those fatigue cards is going to be the winner of the game. You set these, the amount of these, based on the number of players around the table, and someone gets this start player token here. So, starting from the top, spar is not going to happen during the first round. It would entail having some cards in play up here and attacking other players. We're going to come back around to that. Then next up is chain. I have a hand of cards already from my starting deck here, and I am going to now play cards. I have to play at least one, but I can keep playing after that as long as I can keep chaining these cards. Here's what that means. This card here has a symbol itself at the top. This is its own symbol. And then various chain colors below it. Two, in this case, the pyramid orange there, links to the blue creature from the Black Lagoon and the purple bat there. This is an attack card. It will hit for 1. It has 5 health. And then it has an ability down here and a secondary ability that might happen below it. I would play that card, and I'm sort of programming it into place. I can then keep going as long as my next card matches one of these two colors below that. So, for example, this could be my next card. And I can chain that from this bat there. I can keep going. I'm going to play another stab, which comes from this pyramid here. And now I've got these two in my hand. I can't play anymore. I'm done. We now go to the next player because this chain phase happens for everybody. And that next player can chain off of my stab, off of my last card here. So they might play a blue card, and then they can play the same way you would, chaining things. The next player after that chains off of their cards, and so on. So their area might end up looking something like mine. Once this is done, we're going to then trigger that chain in the reverse order. So the last card that was played is the first one to resolve. That player over there would do their cards. This player over here does their cards, and it comes back to me, and I trigger this one here, then this one, and lastly that one. Anything that I trigger that is an attack card, one of these with an attack value and health, is going to end up in the play area. If it has this symbol here, it resolves, then gets discarded, all right? So that is the chain. Let's talk about that a little bit more. This symbol chain right here is going to be what the card mainly does. You have an icon reference with a whole bunch of icons that is going to help you understand what it does. In this case, we've got this symbol here means choose one player to affect. This symbol here has a hand and a card with an X on it, means discard one card from your hand. And then the yellow arrow means this is the cost and this is the effect. The effect in this case is draw one card from deck. Fine, I'm going to pick myself. I'm going to discard this card, and I'm going to draw a card from my deck. This is now done. It goes into play. This one, same thing. Pick a player. Affects all cards. This symbol here, return to where it came. And then this symbol, which is on the back, means increase offense. And then this one over here is increase defense. You have tokens for this stuff that are here and double-sided. So you can add these two cards to make them weaker or stronger and to have them attack for more or less. That's what these two things are going to do in the game. So again, it takes a little deciphering in this game, but basically, let me see if I can do it. Choose one player to affects all cards, return to where it came, the increase offense and increase defense. If that's still not clear, and I don't think it's clear, then you go in here and look that up. Commanding Presence. Commanding Presence is right there. Gain 1 talent token, choose a player, each of their combat cards returns a plus offense token and a plus defense token to the supply. Okay? And gain the token means this symbol right here. That's what they mean by gain one of these. So I would gain that there. This card triggers, it's done, it's discarded. And then this, you already saw the stab happen, so whatever. I could pick another player, I could pick myself, and then this comes into play. Now we go to Learn, where I'm going to go through this whole process in order to acquire some cards over here, all right? So the first thing is I'm going to discard every card in my hand. I have 2 cards left, and I'm going to get one of these tokens for every card I had left in my hand, all right? These are called effort tokens. Then I come over here and I may replace cards in one row or column if I want to, and I would pay 1 effort for that. So I could pay this token here, and I would nuke this line, for example, and replenish it, okay? Let's say I'm not going to do that, but you could do that. You can keep doing that as long as you can keep paying that effort, okay? Once that's done, I'm going to select one of these lines. Let's say I want this one right here. I am going to, from that line, gain 1 common card for free. What's a common card? Well, uncommon has a yellow star right there. Therefore, this one's common. I gain this card. That's free. Now, from my selected line, I can gain more common or rare for 2 effort each. Got it. I pay 2 effort. I'm also going to gain this one. And that gets discarded. Now, I can gain cards from anywhere for 2 talent. Talent is this one. I don't have to. I can't do that yet, but that one could be like this card. It doesn't matter. That could come from anywhere. Once I'm done with all of that, anything left in the original row or column I picked is discarded, and then I replenish that like so. And then you can convert talent to effort if you want to. We go on to the last phase where I draw 5 cards. 1, 2, 3, I'm out. So I have to replenish. I shuffle this for 5, but every time you shuffle in this game, you gain a fatigue that goes in your discard. So ideally, you want to be shuffling this deck as little as possible, actually going through the deck as little as possible. I'm done. Next player would go. And we go through all these. Don't forget, I'm likely able to play some of these cards on their turn. So when it comes back around to me, I do not draw on their turns. I might be down to, just a couple of these cards. I might have been able to play that out. Oh, and by the way, the last thing you actually do is pass this first player token. You pass that to the next player, okay? So when it comes back around to me, this card might be out for me. It might have somebody stuck this on it, let's say, what have you. Okay, we go to spar. That's the very first thing, all right? I got some cards on the table. I'm going to check their strengths. This is a 1. This is a 1. This is normally a 3 reduced. So my total is 1, 2, 3, 4. I pick another player, and I compare their cards in play's strength, meaning their health, to my attack, okay? Let's say there's another player and they have less than that. Their hearts add up to 3, my attack is 4. I pick them, of course, because you want to beat them, and if you beat them, then they take a fatigue and put that in their discard pile. It's whoever. If I have to pick somebody and they're all better than me, then I end up taking that fatigue. And then every card in play, once they have sparred, is discarded. And now I get to go through my chain where I put out new things what have you. I do that, and then unfortunately I'm done there. Maybe I would have done that first, like so. One final thing I want to mention about the chain. I told you about these two instances of symbols down here. This one always happens, like I said. The one at the bottom only happens if this card came chained from a card that has this as its main value. Meaning, this is a card I played, and then I followed it with this one, and when I'm resolving, I'm working my way backwards. I do this here, and then this, I check the previous card, it is that type. I also get that ability. And then this is gone, and then I resolve the next one. There you go. That is the way the game generally works. Some of the general ideas. There's also a few other things. There's a shield over here you can activate, and one time it protects you from taking a fatigue. There's some other manipulation, and of course a lot of symbology, as you can see. But that's the general flow. Let's go back up top. As I mentioned earlier, I liked Nightfall. I still do like it. It's a game that had a really cool setting and had a great, vibrant world built into it. Nice little touches of theme here and there. So I would say that the first indication that there was trouble in paradise was when I read this rulebook here. And on the cover of the rulebook, it says, the Universal Monsters are back and seeking an apprentice. I am acquiring new skills. The least fatigued candidate at game end will be promoted to apprentice, working to join the ranks as a Universal Monster. Meaning, in this game, you play as apprentices to the monsters. You flip the page over, and then they talk about how you are the monsters, basically. And the things that how the cards represent your moves as a Universal Monster. So right away, the theme doesn't make sense, and you can quickly tell it doesn't make sense because they contradict themselves right in the book. The other things that I thought were very problematic, especially compared to the original game, is the tremendous amount of symbology that is in this game. It felt honestly like hieroglyphics to me, and I played with several people who all had the exact same experience. You saw me go over one of these in the overview where I looked at the card and I couldn't quite figure out what they were saying. The symbols seem to, like a language, seem to positionally matter. So that, like, return to where it came from, you have to check what's after it instead of that symbol maybe just having been around the thing that you return to where it came from. So it's like hieroglyphics. Their ordering matters, and it is wild to me how overwrought and how much of a grind this makes this game. The original game was easy to play. You knew what the cards did because it said it on there. And I know they want to make this language independent, but forcing people to have to jump in here and read the entire thing is just a little too much. It really gets in the way of this game, in my opinion. I find it to be problematic. Besides that, everything they've changed here from the original game, things like the way you acquire cards, the fighting each other and the winning side giving the losing side one of these fatigue cards. I find all of these changes to sort of have chopped the feet off of the original game. Acquiring cards, that learn phase is so overwrought. The original game, you would spend, your money, whatever, to buy cards, sort of Dominion style. You had a flop, you would buy cards and put that in your deck. In this game, you have this grid where you can pay to destroy and discard a line, and then pay and discard this line, and then refill that, and then pick a line, and you get one for free, but you can pay for more, but you can pay a different amount of money for one elsewhere, and you can convert one money type into the other money type, which I'm not really sure if it's a one-to-one. You can convert talent to effort one-to-one or not. I'm not sure. That I can't find it in here. And then in the original game, when you fought someone during that spar phase, how much you were beating them by mattered, how strong you were. So you felt good being like, wow, having all these creatures, this massive attack. In this one, you could be beating me by 50. You know what you give me? The same thing that you would if you were beating me by 1. I get this. I get 1 fatigue card for that. And it is so lame. It is so flat. It's weak sauce. The whole thing feels like they tried to modernize it, and every step along the way I thought was an ill-advised move. This should feel more interesting, more thematic, like there are more neat things to decide than the original game, and I find all of those things to be false. This one just doesn't come across as an interesting game. It is also way too long. It really outstays its welcome. I mean, playing this with 4 people, you are going to be at the table for a long time. The reason being, again, in the original game, you could give out more than 1 of these at a time. Now it's 1 apiece. And the shield idea, which is a brand new concept, slows the game down. So when you would take one, instead you leave it where it is. It's not that you discard one. You just leave it on the stack, so it makes the game longer. It's wild to me that all those decisions were made, and yet the game, all it did was sort of make it grindier and slow the game down. I'm trying to think of something positive here to say, and I guess it would come down to, I think the card quality here is pretty good, and I think the artwork, while nonsensical, is pretty good. The things just don't make sense, unfortunately. In the original game, if a card said, pick another character and give them a wound, that thing was shotgun blast to the face, or something like that. It made sense what it was. In this one, the card that does that, you know what that card is called? Take Flight. And it shows Dracula's feet, kind of levitating. What's that mean? The card Take Flight gives you a wound? How? Why? So, again, the theme just isn't there to support this game. The artwork is cool. I like the look, and if you are a massive fan of the Universal Monsters, maybe this is one that you'll enjoy. I especially like the artwork of the Invisible Man. A lot of cool illustrations that feature like water dripping down their silhouette, that sort of thing. But generally speaking, these things are just mostly meaningless. The only thing this game made me want to do was play the original. It kept reminding me of, oh yeah, I remember how neat this was in the original game. Oh yeah, I remember these characters that became iconic. Big Ghost and all these people, this big, giant, nasty werewolf, and just how cool that theme was, how neat these factions were. This gives me nothing like that. I found it to be flat, long, uninteresting, and incredibly difficult, unfortunately, to decipher. So while I was excited, literally excited about when I heard they are reissuing Nightfall, they've updated it, they gave it the Universal Monsters theme, and they're coming back out with Nightfall. I was excited about that. And this led me down just about on every front. So unfortunately for me, this game's going to get a 4 out of 10. And the only thing I can say is, if some aspects of this game's gameplay piqued your interest, I would say try to find yourself a copy of Nightfall. It's out there. They printed a ton of these things. Find yourself a copy of Nightfall and dig into that one. Those mechanisms, that world, and that legibility is going to do wonders for the playability of that game. So there you go. That is Universal Monsters Unchained. I'm Z Garcia. I'll see you on the next one.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another video from the Dice Tower. Hey, you want to learn more about us, communicate with us? We have a Facebook group, we have a Discord channel, lots of different ways to get involved with the Dice Tower. You can find that in our Linktree link below. So just click that, it will take you and you can communicate with us on Facebook, join our Facebook groups. There's lots of cool things that you can find and become part of the Dice Tower. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Tom Vassell.